Primordial Radio.
Chris Daughtry of the self-titled band Daughtry. Man, thank you for making a bit of time. How the devil are you?
Absolutely, man. Thanks for having me. I'm doing well. I'm excited. I'm ready to get over there to see you guys.
So we are talking like literally the day before Chris leaves for the tour. What kind of prep have you already put in for the tour? I mean, how heavy do you and the band go on rehearsals?
Well, we rehearsed a couple weeks ago, and we hope it stuck.
So just a reminder, we've got a whole bunch of dates in the UK. Norwich, we've got Bristol, Nottingham, Glasgow, Newcastle, and Manchester. And of course, I didn't realise you were playing the Royal Albert Hall in London.
Yes, I'm trying not to get too psyched out about it. It's a little intimidating and exciting, and we're ready. I think we're ready.
Have you ever been to the Royal Albert Hall before?
I've never been.
It is such a fantastic, amazing old venue with you kind of go around in the bars and the foyers. There's pictures of some of the incredible acts who performed there over the years. You know, like the Stones and all that kind of thing.
Little band called the Beatles.
Yeah, of course, yeah. But then equally, I was once there and I saw the great Devin Townsend doing a full Ziltoid show, and he had dancing scrotums on stage at the Royal Albert Hall. I doubt those pictures will be on the walls, to be honest.
Well, we're going to have to change our set now. I didn't realize anyone had ever done that. That's part of our set.
Oh, damn.
we have dancing scrotums.
So, we've never spoken before, so I would love to ask you, if I may, right, the band name, Daughtry, obviously it is your surname.
Right.
Were you kind of channeling your Van Halens and your Santanas, or was it slightly more business-minded, going, that's the name that people will know from American Idol, so let's do that? What was you thinking?
Well, certainly bands like Van Halen and Bon Jovi, I felt, gave me permission to do that. You know, the job I worked at before I went on American Idol, they just always called me by my last name, almost like a drill sergeant or something, you know. And when fast forward to getting off the show and planning ahead and going, okay, well, I feel like if I come out with some obscure name or something clever that the recognition kind of goes out the window. So what if we just called it Daughtry? And it just felt like the combination, a good combination of name recognition plus it sounded more like a band. To this day, I think there's way cooler band names we could, but I have no idea what that would have been. I've heard Dave Grohl say he hates the name Foo Fighters, and I think every artist kind of looks at their band name as like it's silly until it isn't, and once it catches on, I guess you're kind of just stuck with it.
Interestingly, when I was looking on your wiki earlier on, it says that in a previous interview somewhere, you were quoted as saying that Steel Dragon would have been a great name, which I didn't know anybody else had seen the film Rockstar. I loved that movie.
Oh, I love that movie. Yeah, so good. I'm glad you got the reference.
So we mentioned that, you kind of got your break on American Idol. Now, this was way back in like 2006. So in order to have a career of the magnitude that you've had, there was obviously something special about you from the get-go. And as a musician, just to go on American Idol in the first place, you must have felt that. Did you have a backup plan in case American Idol didn't pan out? Did you have a plan for what you wanted to do musically?
Well, I already kind of knew what I wanted to do prior to going on the show. I had a band. I had been in bands for almost 10 years at that point, and I was kind of spinning wheels, not really getting anywhere. And I figured, well, worst thing that could happen is I go on the show, I get kicked off, but people kind of get to hear who I am, and maybe I'll get more gigs, and not have a problem booking gigs in venues that I wanted to play in. And that was kind of, it wasn't very forward thinking. It was just like, maybe I can just make a living doing music. And a couple weeks go by, I still haven't gotten voted off, and I'm like, well, I guess I'm in this now. Let's just see where this thing goes. And like first or second week, I'm getting offered to be the singer for Fuel, and then it just felt like, okay, well, people are paying attention, so let's just stick this thing through and see what happens. And I never had any intentions of winning it, or at least didn't think that was even a possibility. And yeah, it just kind of set the path for me in a way where I didn't really think of what would happen if, you know what I mean?
Yeah, as a musician, you don't even want to entertain the possibility that you might not be successful, because, there's a certain amount of ego that has to go along with being a musician and able to get up on stage.
Absolutely.
You mentioned earlier, right, what was the job that you were doing where they used to call you Daughtry?
Oh, I was a service advisor at a Honda dealership, so I would basically be the guy telling you how much it was going to cost to fix your car.
Right. So you've come a hell of a long way.
And I knew nothing, and I did not know what I was talking about, by the way. Full disclosure, I knew jack shit about cars, and it was a job, and I was a terrible employee because I was always daydreaming about being on stage. I was writing songs when I should have been working.
But you've come a long way from there.
Yeah, and I think that's just the nature of being an artist for anyone who's an artist. If you're not doing that, you're always thinking of it, and you feel like anywhere else is just not where you're supposed to be. And that's kind of how I felt with any job I worked. I was always daydreaming about being, in front of people and playing songs and being like my heroes, and so I feel like anytime you have a backup plan, you're going to back up, right? So I just never really had that mindset. I always knew, like, I'm going to do this. I don't know how long it's going to take me to get there. And I'm still trying to figure that out. I still don't know if I'm where I want to be. And that's also the curse of being an artist. You're never really content on where you are. You're always like, okay, but what's next? Where can I go next? And, but I'm kind of in a place now in my 40s where I'm like, this is great. Everything is good. I'm playing Royal Albert Hall. We're still touring the world, and we just put out my favorite album we've ever put out last year. And I think I'm finally in that place where I know who I am more so now than ever. And I think that's kind of translating in the music as well.
I was talking about this with my partner yesterday, that as you get a bit older, into into your late 30s and your 40s, you have a much better idea of who you are as a person, and you're much better informed to make important decisions.
Absolutely.
But the irony is that you have to make so many important decisions in your life when you're 17, 18. Like, are you going to go to college? Are you going to get a job? Are you going to do this? Are you going to do that? At that age, you have no idea. It's like, can we just put those important decisions off a little bit?
Looking back, I had no idea who I was in my 20s. I thought I did. And I thought, I think you get to this place in your, now I feel more comfortable in my skin than ever. And it's interesting how you do make those decisions even when you look back and go, was I even equipped to make that decision? But everything, I also believe that everything works out the way it's supposed to, or else it doesn't. If that makes any sense, and you make mistakes along the way, and you you make bad decisions along the way, and you have to learn from those. And if you don't, then I feel like you get stuck in a place of spinning your wheels and keep making the same mistakes. So I look at everything as a learning experience, and I'm grateful for every one of them.
Now, recently, we've been playing your fabulous cover of Journey on the station. It's one of the most popular songs that we've had. How did that collab with the great Lzzy Hale come about?
Lzzy and I have known each other since probably 2008, 2009. We met at a studio in LA where our producer was doing both of our albums, Howard Benson, and they were just coming out, and we were just working on our second album, and I remember hearing her for the first time then, and it was just like, oh my God, her voice is just, I don't think I've ever heard a female with that ferocity and power. And she just blew my mind. And we'd kind of kept in touch, actually we would end up touring together a few years later with Three Doors Down, and we kind of kept in touch from there, and always talked about, we got to do something together. And, during the pandemic, we were doing these acoustic live streams, and we were doing one in particular one night where we had, some extra production, and she lives in Nashville as well. So I was like, hey, would you want to come out and do a couple songs? I can do one of your songs. We can do some covers. And we ended up doing one of Hailstorm songs with I Am the Fire. And then we did The Chain from Fleetwood Mac. And then we did Man in the Box, Alice in Chains. And we were just like, well, that was fun, but I still think we need to get in the studio together and do something. And then fast forward to last year when we were, me and the guys were in the dressing room talking about doing a cover, and we wanted to do something classic. We wanted to do something from the 80s. I love synths. I love incorporating them into heavier music, and we had first talked about like, ooh, maybe we should do a cover of Final Countdown, right?
Oh, right, yeah.
And then I was like, the more I thought of it, the more I was like, man, I don't know. It's going to be hard to get the cheese off of that one. You know what I mean? It's all I'm going to think of is us in a karate montage or something from the 80s. But then I was watching Stranger Things, the final season, or the finale of the last season. And there's this really cinematic moment where, and I don't want to spoil it, but they're all getting ready to go after this entity or whatever. And Stranger, and it was so epic the way it was chopped up in the scene.
Yeah, I've heard that version. It's absolutely fabulously well done, isn't it?
Yeah, and I looked at my wife and I was like, yes, it gave me chills. And I looked at my wife, I was like, that's the song we need to cover right there. And we talked about it. We were like, we were going to do this cover, and talked to my producer, and we kind of went back and forth, and he was like, hey, what do you think about making it a duet? And I'd never thought of it before. And as soon as he said that, I was like, oh, we got to get Lzzy. We got to get Lzzy. This is it. This is the one. Because I was thinking of the lyrics and how it, perspectives can be flipped on the verses. And I called her up. I was like, hey, Lzzy, I think I got the song for us to do. Would you be interested in doing Separate Ways? And she replied immediately like, oh my God, that's my go-to karaoke song. I'm all in.
The stars aligned. Fabulous.
The stars aligned, man. And I didn't know at the time when we were recording this that we were coming up on the 40th anniversary of the song, of the original. And my manager called and was like, hey, the 40th anniversary is coming up. This would be a perfect time to release it. And I was like, well, shit, we got to get this thing mixed and mastered in like days, so we went hustling, and it came out. I knew it when we were recording it that day, when Lzzy and I were in the studio together here in Nashville. It felt special. It felt like we were doing something really unique with this song, and I just remember just being mind blown at how good we sounded together and how well because I've sang with a lot of people before, and sometimes when you've got two powerhouse, singers that belt it out, it feels like a competition. It feels like you're kind of competing for space. And this just felt like it gelled perfectly. And we were all kind of high-fiving. We didn't have a clue it was going to even go to radio, much less do what it's doing. We were going to kind of just release it on, on the digital platforms and be a little gift to the fans in the meantime while we were working on a new record. And it just, I remember overnight we were looking at the iTunes charts and we were all kind of like, what is going on? We're like above Taylor Swift. This is ridiculous. How did this happen? And
wow.
And yeah, we just could not believe it. And it's only spread like wildfire ever since. And we're just like, we don't have anything to do with this. We're just kind of like letting the universe do what it does. And we're so excited for the response it's getting, because, anytime you tackle someone like Steve Perry, you're kind of subjecting yourself to get raked over the coals. You know what I mean? And that didn't happen. So we were very grateful that it's been received the way it has.
Wow. Yeah, I'm just looking. I hadn't actually checked this before. I'm just looking on Spotify right now. Just shy of 3 million streams for that. And you didn't release it that long ago.
No.
But then I did not realize. Oh, my word. Looking at your number one track on Spotify, Over You, 152,321,081 streams.
Yeah, I just those are things that I typically don't pay attention to simply because it would drive me mad. So I love hearing it from from you.
That is incredible, man. 152 million streams on there. Wow, well done, man. Well
Unbelievable.
done. Well, thank you very much for making a bit of time, and I very, very best for the tour. And if you can, right, as someone who's been there a bit, just try and savor the Royal Albert Hall. It is truly a special kind of venue where you can feel the ghosts of the artists in that building. It truly is something to behold. I hope you enjoy it, man.
Well, I'm definitely going to be channeling them. I'm very much looking forward to it, and I can't wait to just get there so I can walk around the room and just feel the energy and just take it all in. I want to really be present with this, so I can't even tell you how excited I am.
Primordial Radio.